This is 7 News Today in Florida.
Your storm station watching and waiting as the now Category 4 Hurricane Milton makes its way across the Gulf of Mexico. The storm is expected to lose some steam before finally making landfall in the Sunshine State.
Streets on Florida's west coast still lined with piles of debris from Hurricane Helene, trash potentially doubling as flying projectiles. A live view from St. Petersburg. Milton expected to bring a potentially life-threatening storm surge to the area when it does make landfall later tonight.
And live views now over South Florida on this wet Wednesday morning. We're expecting to see a lot more rain over the next few hours. Good morning, everyone. We're glad to have you with us. I'm Ethan Calloway.
Hey, everyone. I'm Lorena Estrada. Let's get right to meteorologist Vivian Gonzalez. She leads our team coverage on Hurricane Milton. Viv, good morning.
And good morning. And now we're going to start getting hourly updates on position and strength from Milton from the Hurricane Center. And we just got the 9 o'clock update. Winds still at 155 miles per hour, and it's located 230 miles to the southwest of Tampa, moving northeast at a faster pace. 16 miles per hour, and you can tell that the bands are soaking the west coast of Florida. We've been getting some of the outermost rain bands spinning up some trouble here at home between Broward and Miami-Dade, and we've had a few tornado warnings already. A front to the north, high pressure to the south and east will steer Milton in our general direction, and landfall will happen likely as a Cat 4 system with 130 mile per hour winds around the west coast of Florida. And a close-up view of the cone showing that the center of the storm could be located anywhere in this area highlighted in red. And between midnight, 4 a.m., that's when we're expecting landfall. It could happen as north as Clearwater, as far south as Port Charlotte. Here's a look at the advisories. There's a tropical storm warning for all of South Florida, part of the northwestern Bahamas, but there's a hurricane warning where we're expecting the center to make landfall. And I wanted to show you the wind field because hurricane force winds 74 miles per hour and higher fan out 30 miles from the center. Tropical storm force winds 39 plus miles per hour fan out 125 miles from the center. And the hurricane center feels that this wind field will continue to expand, gradually doubling in size. And that is why tropical storm conditions will be spreading across our area later on today. Already the lower Florida Keys getting tropical storm force winds. And we are expecting those tropical storm force wind gusts to continue around the Florida Keys, and they'll expand towards the East Coast with some outer bands moving in. So as we look at 1:30 this afternoon, very gusty in Key West to 40 miles per hour, up to 29 in Miami. And then we move on into tonight up to 37 miles per hour in Miami, 40 miles per hour already in Isla Mirada. And you'll see more downpours developing and moving through the area from west to east. 43 mile per hour wind gusts possible heading into late tonight, tomorrow morning across the region. And then throughout the day, Thursday, conditions will improve. But because those bands could spin up some quick moving tornadoes, we do have a tornado watch in effect for Broward, Dade, and the Keys through 9 p.m. in several counties around the state of Florida. So here are the potential impacts between Miami-Dade and Broward through Thursday. Sustained winds between 25 to 35 miles per hour, gusts up to 40 to 50 occasionally, less than an inch of rain. So a lot of rain, not a concern for us today, but more so the severe type thunderstorms we will get and a quick moving tornado or two. Heading into the Florida Keys now through Thursday, sustained winds 30 to 40, gusts higher than 50 possible with less than an inch of rain, a 1 to 3 foot storm surge possible. Here's the center of Milton, located well to our basically west, and you can see those bands moving in from time to time and spinning up the potential of know that there could be some rotation out in West Miami-Dade. More details on our local weather in a few minutes.
Well, there's a lot of concern this morning for the state's west coast for all the reasons Viv just mentioned. 7's Danielle Garcia is live in Sarasota, where those who have not heeded the calls to evacuate are now bracing for landfall. Danielle, good morning.
Good morning, Ethan. That's right. You know, here in downtown Sarasota, pretty much all of the businesses are boarded up. They're just hoping that whatever they did is going to work. Now they have to just brace for impact. You know, yesterday we were showing you some of those barrier islands, but now there is no more access to those islands as the bridges are closed off. The police are there in the bottom. So a lot of people here in Sarasota were impacted by Helene, but they know that Milton is going to be worse. Just a lone police officer. The streets of St. Armand's neighborhood of Sarasota nearly silent.
It's going to help some.
Except for the chatter of these two men as they try to seal a door from any incoming floodwater. Milton is coming, and this neighborhood is under an evacuation order. And at this late hour, much of the ruined belongings and debris left behind by Hurricane Helene almost 2 weeks ago is still sitting here, waiting for pickup. There's no way now for it all to be picked up before the storm.
So anything that is still left, we aren't going to be able to get to, and I think it's going to be very dangerous.
A local emergency currently exists.
All day Tuesday, police announced evacuation orders. A reminder to those who may have decided to stay, it's simply a bad idea. Many seem to agree.
This afternoon, taking a hotel room up by the airport with 3 dogs and a manic wife. She's tense.
I'm heading to a safe space.
George Kidd is still trying to decide how far to go. His house on Anna Maria Island was partially flooded in Helene, and he's got Lexi and Logan to think of as well.
Old timers on Anna Maria say it was and around the state of Florida say that Helene was the worst they had seen as far as surge. And this one, aiming right down the mouth of Tampa Bay, is supposed to be bigger than any of them.
But once the decision has been made, it hasn't been easy. Several gas stations have come up empty, with so many people leaving or at least simply filling up.
I think it's just logistics getting here. I feel bad for people trying to get out of town because there's no gas around here at all.
They're getting scarier every time, which is kind of real. So we need to be really careful with what we're doing.
Exactly the message local leaders want people to hear.
If you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die.
After what they experienced just a couple of weeks ago, people are listening this time. I don't see people talking about having a hurricane party or I'm going to ride it out. I haven't seen any of that. I think people are truly worried.
And that's definitely what we've seen here as well. A lot of people just really anxious. And even further down south in Fort Myers, a lot of people there nervous, anxious, and also still trying to rebuild from Hurricane Ian. I spoke to some officials there yesterday, and they were telling me, from Ian, they only put out those evacuation orders 24 hours before landfall because of that sudden shift down south. But this time around, they were not taking any chances. They put out those evacuation orders on Sunday for people to leave Monday. And thankfully, it seems as though a lot of people have heeded those orders. On Fort Myers Beach, the streets were empty before the sun went down Tuesday. People like Laura Crooms spent their final hours on the island preparing sandbags to fortify her home.
I'm about 4 miles away from Fort Myers Beach. We're Zone A, so we are going to evacuate.
It seems most of Fort Myers Beach had heeded the calls to leave. Construction sites rebuilding from Ian now sitting empty.
When Ian came around, in our neighborhood, it got pretty flooded. The water went over all the vehicles, so we're just preparing all of our homes, but hoping, for the best.
Cal Bruno is trying to keep water out of his restaurant, which he bought 9 days before Ian struck in 2022, and has been renovating since January.
How do you feel right now?
We're nervous. We're lots of prayers. With Helene, we did get some water in the building. Not an extreme amount, but with the forecast that we're hearing with this storm, it's unsettling to say the least. Not unsettling enough for everyone, though.
We're just kind of riding it out, hoping for the best, saying as many prayers as we possibly can, and that's about it.
Hopefully we'll be better off than we were last time. We got about 4 feet of water in our staircases that flooded. But other than that, our building, we're on the 2nd floor, so
gotcha.
We're okay up there.
Plans like that are the opposite of what Fort Myers Mayor Kevin Anderson wants to hear.
While you can run or you can hide from the wind, you've got to run from the water.
Yeah, there's no exception.
No exception. No.
As Fort Myers braces for yet another storm. And so the deputy director of the National Hurricane Center says that his biggest worry about this storm in particular is that it is going towards densely populated areas like Tampa, like here in Sarasota. And so hopefully everybody is heeding those orders, though it appears as though everyone is taking this storm very seriously. Reporting live in Sarasota, I'm Danielle Garcia, Today in Florida.
All right, Danielle, the race for residents to get out of the strike zone clogging highways, that includes Alligator Alley, a popular corridor to Weston.
It's where we find 7's Alex Browning, where several storm evacuees are now seeking shelter. Alex.
Several dozen, Ethan, here at this Hampton Inn. It is one of the first hotels right off the alley off 75 here in western Broward County. Many of the folks we spoke to, they are grateful they were able to leave, and the reality is setting in. They may return home to find nothing.
To go through this again, it's a lot of angst.
West Coast families like Paul's waking up in South Florida after leaving everything behind.
Anything that is this severe, we're going to get out of there. It's just, we've been in a few smaller ones, and it's frightening. You feel like your house is coming apart, even if it's not. So it wasn't a hard decision.
Thousands fled Milton's likely path of utter destruction Tuesday. Traffic stretching for miles. This rest stop off Alligator Alley packed early Wednesday as more cars head out of harm's way.
It's pretty scary because we're here and we can't go home, and he's there and he can't come here.
Glenda was already in South Florida with her daughter and grandson before the storm. Her husband and mother-in-law back in Sarasota County.
He was boarding everything up. He's got the vehicles, one in the garage, one in the barn. We have a dog, we have cows.
And while these families watch and wait,
east, we're going to have some structures at least. I'm not sure if we'll have a whole roof or if we'll have trees through the roof.
The stark reality of what they'll find when they return.
People on the coast, I don't think they're going to come back to anything.
Setting in.
We've been there 35 years. So, a lot of memories.
And this hotel is sold out. Many of these families who escaped Milton's path will have to find another hotel for the weekend. We're in Weston. Alex Browning, Today in Florida.
All right, Alex, now to the Florida Keys, where they may not be getting a direct hit, but people are certainly feeling the storm's outer bands already. 7's Samantha Sosa is live in Key West with a look at the conditions now. Samantha.
Yeah, it's not raining yet, but we can really feel the wind coming off of some of these outer bands. And I want to give you a look at the surf here. It is quite rough out there on the water as Milton is just a couple hundred miles away.
Rough surf and whipping winds waking up Key West Wednesday morning, where people are already seeing some shallow street flooding. With Milton just 200 miles away, the island is under a tropical storm warning. The community thankfully won't be hit by the storm, but still know to prepare.
It's a fantastic people, so they know what they have to do, and they basically always watching them.
Though the area won't be directly hit, some prepared.
A lot of people putting up stuff on their houses, kind of getting ready, and a lot of restaurants and different places along the way are closed.
Monroe County officials are asking people to secure their yards and tie up their boats. They've also closed government offices and schools Wednesday, as well as state parks. And some businesses like Wells Fargo shutting their doors until Thursday. A coastal flood warning in place. Storm surge with saltwater flooding is expected 1 to 3 feet above ground level in low-lying areas on the Gulf and Bay side of the island until Thursday afternoon. This man was planning to head up to North Carolina to help families still recovering from the last storm. But with all the watches and warnings, he's decided to stay put for now.
And I would leave, within the next couple hours, but I'm sure to be stuck in Orlando. So, and I don't want to be stuck in Orlando with a monster coming.
Folks keeping their neighbors to the north in mind.
I feel sorry about the Tampa Bay people.
Deciding today whether to cancel school tomorrow. For now, we are reporting live in Key West. Samantha Sosa, Today in Florida.
All right, Samantha, several sandbag distribution locations wrapping things up ahead of Hurricane Milton. Around 70,000 sandbags were distributed in Miami-Dade County earlier this week. Many locations are now closed or preparing to close due to high demand. Broward and Miami-Dade counties are under a tropical storm warning through Thursday.
Speaking of closures, schools in South Florida are being impacted by Milton, as you might expect. Miami-Dade and Broward Public Schools canceling classes today and and Thursday. Monroe County schools will be closed today. And Archdiocese schools in both Dade and Broward counties will also be closed today and Thursday.
Well, today in Florida at 9 o'clock, just getting started. Still ahead, South Florida ready to respond after Hurricane Milton strikes.
How local organizations are lending a helping hand.
For the latest news, weather, and sports, tap the 7 News app. It's free. Just search WSVN in your app store. Sponsored by Paul Baines Roofing.
Irresistibly smooth milk chocolate from the Lindt Master Chocolatier. Lindor. Made to melt you. And now, discover a new non-dairy Lindor. Made with oat milk. Made to melt you.
Your storm station is tracking Hurricane Milton. It's a Category 4 system producing winds of 155 miles per hour, moving northeast at 16, located 230 miles southwest of Tampa, Florida. A front to the north, high pressure to the south, steering the system in our general direction. So landfall will happen around the west central Florida coastline by tonight into tomorrow morning, most likely between midnight and 4 a.m. Thursday. And now the Hurricane Center thinks it'll be a Category 4 by the time it does move onshore. It'll cross through as a hurricane down to Category 1 status, moving into the Atlantic Ocean and then weakening after that. There is a tropical storm warning in effect for all of South Florida, a portion of the Bahamas, and then northward, that's where there's a hurricane warning. But I want to divide Milton into 4 quadrants. Let's take a look at a pie, for example. We slice it into 4 pieces, and the northeastern side is known as the dirty sector. The right front quadrant, that's where we find favorable conditions for tornadoes and that push of strong winds onshore that produce basically the surge across the region and some very large waves. But the bands definitely could produce tornadoes. The highest risk over Central Florida, where landfall is expected to happen. And then for South Florida, some of those outer feeder bands could spin up some tornadoes. So we have a slight risk of that. And we've been seeing individual tornado warnings here at home. So there's a tornado watch now in effect for Broward, Miami-Dade, and the Florida Keys until 9 a.m. As far as a lot of rain with Milton, we're not expecting a ton because those bands just move in and out relatively fast. Where we're going to see the highest totals, that's around the I-4 corridor. Isolated amounts of up to 18 inches, impressive amounts for sure. The winds are already starting to pick up in the Florida Keys. There's a tropical storm force wind gust in Key West right now of up to 48 miles per hour. So here's the center of the storm. We could see those outer feeder bands rolling through parts of the region and some strong storms here between Dade and Broward that's triggered another tornado warning that is set to run all the way through 9:45. So if your commute takes you through Alligator Alley, try to avoid it at all costs for now. I'll be back with another update in a few minutes.
All right, Viv. Well, South Florida organizations are ready to lend a helping hand to those who take the brunt of Hurricane Milton's wrath. The storm is expected to cause devastating damage all across the state.
7's Gail Lever reports on the groups already mobilizing crews to the strike zone.
Packing boxes, taping them up, and sending goods over by the truckload to Florida's west coast.
Here we are again in this very horrendous situation.
The CEO and founder of the Global Empowerment Mission prepping to send more supplies just a few weeks after doing the same thing for Hurricane Helene.
Just since Hurricane Helene, I think we've already sent 30 full-size trucks with over $1.5 million worth of, very important supplies.
Now there's more on the way, and not just from GEM. In Broward County, Feeding South Florida is sending semi-trucks packed with water, food, MREs, and even diapers.
We're worried about our neighbors. We're worried about our sister food banks in Tampa and Sarasota and in Harry Chapin in Fort Myers. So we're just planning and preparing as much as we can.
In Homestead, Farm Share Food Bank is packing up pallets of supplies to stage near the impacted areas.
Our focus is the first 10 to 15 days after a storm makes landfall. We want to make sure that we have that food in there as a first responder. We try to help sustain those communities until the long-term recovery unit's set up.
So short-term, people will have needed items like food, water, and toiletries. But long-term, organizations like these will continue to help out.
Sometimes we'll get large amounts of cleaning supplies that could fill up half this warehouse, and then we'll supply that to all the other local organizations so they can go out with their teams and their volunteers.
Then they'll start sending rebuilding materials like drywall with the goal of getting people home.
We're very about, just getting people back to life as soon as possible.
Gail Levy, Today in Florida.
Well, if you'd like to help, all of these organizations take monetary donations. GEM also accepts bulk items and is always looking for volunteers to help out with packing boxes.
All right, coming up on Today in Florida, more teams and task forces getting ready to respond to the disaster zone.
Plus a live look over Fort Lauderdale on this Wednesday morning. We'll have more on our local weather coming soon.
Irresistibly smooth milk chocolate from the Lindt Master Chocolatier. Lindor. Made to melt you. And now, discover a new non-dairy Lindor. Made with oat milk. Made to melt you.
Storm Station with a look at the massive emergency response underway in Central Florida. Linemen already on standby preparing for power problems.
And in Arkansas, the National Guard getting Black Hawk planes ready to respond from the air. And Florida Task Force Team 2 in Miami also deploying to Florida's west coast.
7's Jordan Segundo is live in Miami where those first responders are rolling out. Jordan, good morning.
Good morning, Lorraine and Ethan. Well, Task Force 2 consists of about 100 members this go around. They've got firefighters, first responders, structural specialists, doctors, even veterinarians, and their goal is to head up north. They'll be heading to areas impacted from Hurricane Milton, and they are ready for whatever this storm is going to bring. Now, they are used to some of the devastation from these hurricanes. Again, they go to some of the hardest hit areas, helping out communities with whatever they need, whether it's medical care, supplies, or just trying to evacuate the area. Again, these members are going to be about 100 of them going up to these areas, so they're not exactly sure where the storm's going to hit, but they'll be ready no matter what. Again, they are going out there and providing whatever they can. They've even been to areas like Fort Myers Beach back in 2022. That is when Hurricane Ian decimated that area. For these men and women, even for the K-9, it is not an easy task, but they are ready to weather the storm, and they definitely have a plan of attack.
Hits tonight into the west coast, we'll have a small contingency of like a quick response force that will go downrange, coming in from the south into the north behind it, so that we can get the proper manpower downrange as quickly as possible and start providing those rescues. The second phase of that will be a bigger group of individuals, but also the small fleet, because the winds will still be up and going. We can't take the heavy fleet until that subsides somewhat. So that middle contingency will be going downrange a few hours afterwards to, I guess, back up what we say the first initial response group was. And then tomorrow, the heavy fleet, because of the tractor trailers, will bring all the additional equipment. We don't need that to get our operation running. We just need the manpower there right away with the boats, chainsaws, things so we can get in and get access to those that are still trapped behind us.
And so again, these members are heading up to Florida's west coast. Some of these members, though, just returning from research or search efforts from Hurricane Helene, so they didn't have much rest, but they are bringing their best up there to help these people who are expected to feel the brunt of Hurricane Milton. Again, firefighters, first responders, they'll be bringing specialized equipment, even medical supplies to areas that will be hardest hit. Some members have already left. They got a few more members out here trying to gather their equipment and some of their supplies, and once they head out there, we'll be with them as they make their way up north. Reporting live from Miami, Jordan Segundo, Today in Florida.
All right, Jordan, ahead on Today in Florida, the latest check on South Florida's storm outlook.
A live look this morning also in the St. Petersburg area, but Today in Florida is continuing the coverage. Today in Florida, we'll be right back. As those in Tampa brace for the worst, a plea for mercy plastered on a home reading, quote, "God help me." Our coverage continues this morning with Ivan Rodriguez in Tampa.
Ivan, good morning. What are conditions looking like at this point? I know you guys have been getting some rain and already some wind there in the Tampa Bay area.
Ethan, Lorena, good morning. We're feeling some of that exactly rain and wind from the outer bands of Hurricane Milton. Conditions are going to deteriorate as we go on. By midday, we could start feeling some of those tropical storm conditions, and by this evening, the Gulf Coast could start seeing hurricane conditions. The National Hurricane Center says any evacuations should be completed by this morning.
A local emergency currently exists. Quickly secure your home or business and safely evacuate the area.
Hurricane Milton is barreling towards Florida, and the window to evacuate is rapidly closing.
And if you have not evacuated, bug out. If you don't take heed, you're on your own. You might as well take a Sharpie and write your name and social security number on your leg so that when we find you, we have a contact, because it is not going to be good for you.
According to the National Hurricane Center, tropical storm conditions are expected to start impacting the west coast of Florida around midday Wednesday, with landfall expected late Wednesday or early Thursday. The storm is one of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes ever, with much of Florida's Gulf Coast at significant risk of catastrophic hurricane-force winds and flooding rain.
Milton is growing in serious intensity very fast.
Massive amounts of debris and trash left over from Hurricane Helene still line many streets and driveways, despite around-the-clock efforts to clear it out in recent days.
We're trying to get everybody out from Milton, and we're trying to get all the debris up from Helene. This would have taken a month to get all this debris cleaned up.
And with wind speeds expected to be close to 120 miles per hour, that debris can turn into deadly projectiles. Tampa's mayor actually addressed the concerns with debris, and she says the city was able to pick up between 70 and 75% of that debris. In terms of gas, it's been hard to come by across the state of Florida. We know there's between one out of five gas stations currently don't have any fuel. We've seen images of big trucks loading those gas stations up as best possible, especially along those evacuation routes. Live in Tampa, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
All right, Ivan, thank you. Meteorologist Vivian Gonzalez joining us now from the Storm Center with the latest on Milton's strength and track. We could see in Ivan's live shot there, Viv, those conditions already starting to deteriorate in Tampa Bay.
That's correct. They're getting the outer bands from Milton, a Cat 4 system with 155 mile per hour winds as of the 9 o'clock update from the Hurricane Center. So now we're getting hourly updates. It's moving to the northeast at 16, located 230 miles southwest of Tampa. The official track from the Hurricane Center has a front to the north, steering it towards the west central coast of Florida. Landfall will happen sometime tonight between midnight, 4 a.m. Thursday morning as a Cat 4 system. It'll cross through the state as a hurricane, exit into the Atlantic as a Category 1 system, and then eventually weaken down the road over the weekend. So here's a look at the computer models tightly packed together that this is where the center of the storm will be making landfall, as far north as Clearwater, as far south as Port Charlotte. There is a tropical storm warning in effect for South Florida, when we can expect gusty winds 39 plus miles per hour. We're already there in the Florida Keys. So we're going to break down the impacts for Miami-Dade and Broward now through Thursday. Sustained winds between 25 to 30 miles per hour. Gusts occasionally between 40 to 50 and less than an inch of rain for most areas. There could be some strong storms capable of producing isolated tornadoes. And for the Florida Keys, now through Thursday, sustained winds up to 30 to 40, gusts up to 50 miles per hour occasionally, and less than an inch of rain, about a 1 to 3 foot storm surge possible. Winds sustained already in Key West to 30 miles per hour, starting to turn breezier along the East Coast. And we have a gust of 48 miles per hour in Key West to 37 in Marathon already. And the radar site from Key West is certainly picking up up the center of Milton there on your screen. And then some of those outer bands definitely been problematic this morning, triggering some tornado warnings on the western fringes of Broward and Miami-Dade. So for today, bands of downpours, a building breeze across the region, especially in the afternoon. And this strong wind is here to stay at least through the afternoon on Thursday. As the center of the storm tracks through the state of Florida, we're going to have some sunshine on Thursday, but turning drier overall as a front just pushes Milton away from the state, and that will set the stage for maybe a shower here and there. Still a breeze, but at least conditions turning a lot less humid across the region, maybe a small little dose of fall. Your extended outlook South Florida calls for the severe weather risk to continue today with those outer feeder bands associated from Milton. And it'll still stay windy through a good portion of our Thursday, but then conditions will start to improve, especially in the evening. By Friday, as a front moves in, it won't be as humid. High temperatures will range in the upper 80s. It should be mostly dry on our Saturday, and then on Sunday, scattered showers, thunderstorms a possibility into early next week. That's the very latest.
All right, Viv. Next on Today in Florida, hurricane hunters on a risky flight. We'll take you into the eye of the storm.
And any minute now, Governor Ron DeSantis will be speaking, giving us an update right before hours away before Hurricane Milton makes landfall tonight on Florida's Gulf Coast. Keep it here. Today in Florida. We'll be right back.
President Trump is leading the fight to empower parents and students.
We will give all parents the right to choose another school for their children if they want, called school choice.
President Trump is right. Kentucky parents deserve a voice in what their children learn and a choice in where they go to school. Give Kentucky students the education they deserve. Vote yes on Amendment 2. Trump supports school choice, so should you.
Welcome back. Throughout the week, hurricane hunters have been taking turbulent trips directly into the eye of Hurricane Milton. Their purpose is to collect the vital information forecasters rely on.
7's Maricela Burgos is in the Newsplex to take us inside the storm. Maricela, good morning.
Good morning. They're using a number of tools to collect as much data as they can about this storm, and flying into it is one way they do that.
I'm gonna grab my phone real quick.
Hurricane hunters sitting through anything but a smooth flight this week, collecting data from the eye of Hurricane Milton day after day. And flight after flight.
At briefing time yesterday, Milton was just a tropical storm, and today, after some very rapid intensification, it is a Category 5.
It's what crews with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the U.S. Air do when storms form during hurricane season. In a single mission, scientists dropped 20 to 40 devices which collect important information, including temperature, humidity, wind, and pressure.
This data is used at the National Hurricane Center to improve forecasts, and the data is also input into the models, again, to improve the forecasts.
We do what we do so that they can get the best information out there so that the public can be prepared.
7 News spoke with a lieutenant colonel who was inside one of the Air Force's 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron's flights about just how intense Milton is.
So it was bumpy going through. Milton is a very strong storm. And so we did get to some severe turbulence at several points, crossing through the eye wall into the eye.
While his crews provide constant input to forecast models, NOAA uses multiple radars to create 3D images to research certain aspects of the storm.
On satellite imagery, the storm presents itself very small. It has a very small pinhole, and due to the rapid intensification, the storm is evacuating air at a very rapid rate.
A bumpy ride giving those on the outside just a small idea of how strong and dangerous the storm really is.
Can you grab my wallet too? Thanks. Gotta keep these pockets zipped.
These flights help them adjust Hurricane Milton's projected forecast. It also helps teams predict the behavior of future storms. In the Satellite Center, Maricela Burgos, Today in Florida.
All right, Maricela, ahead on Today in Florida, the latest on this monstrous storm. Hurricane Milton set to make landfall here in Florida later today.
And a live view of the southernmost point in Key West, where waves lashing the southernmost point as Milton's outer bands are moving through.
morning, South Florida. We continue to track major Hurricane Milton in the Gulf of Mexico. It's a Category 4 system with 155 miles per hour, moving northeast at 16, located 230 miles southwest of Tampa, Florida. The official track from the Hurricane Center calls for a front to the north, high pressure to the southeast to steer it into the west central coast of Florida. And it will be making landfall as a major system, but now potentially as a Cat 4 with 130 mile per hour winds, and landfall should happen anywhere between midnight and 4 a.m. Thursday. All of South Florida included under a tropical storm warning, and that's because this is such a large system that impacts will be far removed from where the center tracks. So we're expecting tropical storm force wind gusts 39 plus miles per hour. We're also likely going to see additional tornado warnings throughout the day because of those outer feeder bands producing severe type thunderstorms. So Broward, Dade, and the Florida Keys, a good chunk of the state under a tornado watch until 9 p.m. So here in South Florida, we're not so much concerned with heavy amounts of rain. We just have a marginal risk of seeing excessive rainfall with some of those quick moving downpours. But around where the center will track through along the I-4 corridor, isolated amounts of up to 18 inches of rain expected. So here's a look at our breakdown of impacts. Strongest gusts, 40 to 50 plus miles per hour, most likely late today through Thursday morning. In and out downpours through tonight with isolated tornado risk. Storm surge flooding possible 1 to 3 feet across parts of the Florida Keys. Winds have been increasing gradually, more so for the Keys, up to 30 miles per hour sustained in Key West with a tropical storm force wind gust of up to 48 miles per hour. So here's where the center of the storm is located, and there's an outer feeder band producing some strong storms across the region. And between the Collier, Broward County line, there's a strong storm, and there's the indication of some rotation. So the Weather Service has issued a tornado warning through 10 a.m. for this area here. So if your commute takes you through Alligator Alley, try to stay away for now until the storm passes through. So we will have the severe weather risk in store today. It'll still be very gusty through tomorrow morning, at least through the afternoon. And then we'll see improvements, and a front sweeps through to clear the bad weather away. So that means it won't be as humid or hot for Friday. High temperatures in the upper 80s, and we'll have a mostly dry Saturday with scattered showers returning on Sunday. That's your 7 on 7.
All right, Viv, coming up on Today in Florida, heartbreak for those forced to evacuate their homes still damaged from Hurricane Helene.
We're hearing from evacuees this morning.
Florida's largest evacuation in years is underway right now, and unfortunately for many in Milton's path, they're leaving homes already badly damaged. 7's Daniel Garcia has more on those hoping their homes can handle another hit.
Come on, baby girl, come on.
For Marianne DiTullio,
we have 2 homes right around the corner.
one last walk along Anna Maria Island
Just unbelievable.
was a little relief from her many emotions.
Overwhelmed, anxiety, fear, apprehension, exhaustion. The list goes on.
Ahead of Hurricane Milton, the world-famous island was unusually bare and still noticeably battered from Hurricane Helene.
We've got trucks and grapplers out here picking up debris now so that it's not a projectile for Milton, but we're not going to be able to get to all of it.
And if you decide to stay, that's not all they won't be getting to.
There will be no fire, there will be no EMS, there will be no police. Once we leave the island, you're on your own.
That's a very strong message.
Yeah, you might want to, if you stay, if you're, for lack of a better word, dumb enough to think you can ride it out, write your name and a next of kin phone number on your arm or something with a Sharpie, so that when we come retrieve you the next day, we know who to call.
A stern and sobering warning of the danger on the horizon as this community prepares for the worst and prays for the best.
Danielle Garcia, Today in Florida.
Anna Maria Island in Manatee County could see 11 to 15 feet of storm surge under current projections. That's enough to destroy homes and take lives. Lorena.
All right, Ethan. Coming up on Today in Florida, an unlikely duo becoming friends in a storm. And coming up at 10, your storm station is staying on top of Hurricane Milton. Erica Delgado will have your latest forecast next.
This is a 7 News Weather Alert.
And South Florida, we have 2 tornado warnings actively out there, but the one that's located around Alligator Alley has actually produced a tornado on the ground, and it's located north of Alligator Alley. So there in the distance, we actually have video from Snake Road of a twister on the ground, and it's actually been growing in size. So you could see it spinning there from a distance, and there's a pretty strong tornado that is located in the area. A lot of heavy rain. There's lightning embedded within this thunderstorm that you're seeing on your screen, producing a tornado. And there is a tornado warning in effect for the area, and that's the one that's actually going to run through 10 o'clock this morning. We also have another tornado warning that's been issued with a strong storm that's lifting northward relatively fast between US 27 and I-75. But again, the storm that is north of Alligator Alley, that's the one that's triggered basically that's produced a tornado that's currently on the ground. And we have live video from Snake Road indicating that twister that's currently out there, hopefully not bothering anyone. We'll be back with another update in a few minutes, sending things back to the desk.
All right, Viv, thanks so much. And we are expecting to hear from Governor DeSantis any moment from Tallahassee, the latest on Milton and state preparations there. When we get that, of course, we'll bring it to you. That is Today in Florida at 9 o'clock. I'm Ethan Calloway.
I'm Lorena Estrada. Keep it here. Our coverage continues in 2 minutes.
This is 7 News Today in Florida.
Hurricane Milton headed for Florida and the west coast of Florida bracing for impact. I'll have details coming up in weather.
People across the west coast of Florida bracing for the worst in the coming hours. We're live in Sarasota with how people have prepared and the conditions here.
An inconvenience, but one well worth it, I would think.
Many in high-risk areas heeding the message and hitting the road.
Members of Florida's Task Force 2 gearing up and getting ready to head north. They'll be helping with the search and rescue efforts in the aftermath of Hurricane Milton. Their plan of attack coming up.
Hurricane hunters coming face to face with Milton.
I highly suggest anyone that's staying behind should evacuate.
Witnessing the danger in store. All right, so now some live pictures of just north of Alligator Alley, where a tornado touched down just a few minutes ago on the border of Broward and Collier counties. A tornado watch still in effect for Miami-Dade, Broward, and the Florida Keys. And as you're taking these live pictures right now, you saw what it looked like. And here's what it looks like, Tavares, across South Florida this morning. South Florida starting to feel Milton's impact on this Wednesday morning.
Yeah, certainly what a difference a few hours can make. You know, we came in this morning just before 5 a.m. Conditions dry out there, but you can see the sky is getting darker. That Fort Lauderdale cam you see shaking there in the wind. So those conditions certainly changing for us right here in South Florida as well. Let's continue our coverage this morning. Meteorologist Erica Delgado leads our team coverage from the Storm Center, tracking Milton's latest move. Erica, good morning.
That's right, Tavares, and we'll start off with that tornado warning just because it's so close to home. We've been talking about outer bands pushing through the area, and this is why we are under a tornado watch. These outer bands very easily produce these quick-moving tornadoes, and we've been seeing that as we've already had 9 tornado warnings across South Florida, Miami-Dade and Broward included, even if it was west of the metro, but still 9 already in total, and the day is just getting started. So we'll take a closer look at the 2 areas that we're watching. There was a tornado warning that was issued for this thunderstorm quick moving towards the north across western Broward. That one was allowed to expire at 10 o'clock, but you can see it's skirting some of our western suburbs, areas like Southwest Ranches into Weston. It's now crossing I-75 there where it meets 595, and it is lifting towards the north. And then further west on your screen, we're seeing this one area that did apparently produce a tornado just along the border there between Broward County, Collier, Hendry as well. Lots of lightning with this one as well. The tornado warning that was issued was changed by another one when still capable of producing a tornado in that area. So we do have one tornado warning there in place until 10:30 this morning. And this is the one where we just saw some footage of an apparent tornado that was across interior sections of South Florida. Meanwhile, the one that I said expired at 10 apparently was continued a little longer just because it could produce a tornado. So we're keeping a close eye on that one storm that is across western portions of Broward County. Again, all day long, these outer bands will continue to push through the area, especially as Milton, a very powerful system, continues to move closer and closer to Florida. So we're getting hourly updates now on Milton with the position itself because of its proximity to land. So now as of 10 a.m., moving towards the northeast at 16 miles per hour, a little over 200 miles of Tampa, Florida. So it is closing in on the west central Florida coastline. You can see outer bands pushing through Florida, but more importantly, those outer bands have been pushing through the west coast of Florida since this morning. Winds still making it a Category 4 hurricane with winds of 155 miles per hour. Latest forecast track does keep Milton making landfall anywhere near Port Charlotte, Boca Grande, all the way through the Sarasota Beach area, and as far north as areas like St. Pete, Tampa, into Palm Harbor as possibly a Category 4 hurricane with winds of 130 miles per hour. Landfall looking most likely between midnight tonight and 4 a.m. Right now, tropical storm force winds extend out 125 miles, so the system is growing. Hurricane force winds fan out 30 miles from the center, continuing to grow that wind field as it moves closer and closer to Florida. That's why we talk about impacts being felt up and down the state, but also as far south as South Florida. So we'll begin to see those tropical storm force gusts as we go about our day. This is why we're in a tropical storm warning until further notice. All of South Florida, including the Florida Keys, and even areas of the Abacos, Grand Bahama Island, and Bimini, with hurricane warnings extending north across central Florida, not just on the west side, but also up and down the east coast from the St. Lucie, Martin County line all the way up through Daytona Beach. And those tropical storm watches and warnings not only extending through northern Florida, but Georgia coastline, South Carolina, and North Carolina coastline as well. So this will be a system that will impact a large area. We're under tornado watch because the dirty sector will be pushing through the rest of the day, and that's what's favorable favorable for possible tornadoes. We talked about that tornado threat a little higher across central Florida, but all of Florida you can see from Tampa all the way down, including the Florida Keys, remaining under that tornado watch until 9 p.m. So strongest gusts for us here, about 40 to 50 mile per hour, will be possible late today through Thursday morning with in and out downpours, especially within that isolated tornado risk, and storm surge flooding will be possible across the Florida Keys. That's the very latest. I'll have much more for you coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Erica. Well, people along Florida's Gulf Coast are seeking shelter elsewhere, while officials are sending a stern warning to those who are facing danger by choosing to stay behind after being ordered to evacuate. Let's get to 7's Danielle Garcia joining us live this morning from Sarasota, Florida, with more on the wait from Milton. Danielle, good morning.
Good morning, Tavares. And that wait is very anxiety-inducing, right? Because you start to see some rain, you start to see some wind, but you know that later on today, tomorrow morning, it's really going to be very bad. So here in Sarasota, we have mandatory evacuations in zones A, B, and C. That was ordered yesterday. So all those people that are in those zones are asked to leave, or really told to leave, rather. Though here in downtown Sarasota, which is one of those evacuation zones, we have seen a couple people walking around just getting in those last-minute preparations, just scoping out the area, which of course is not advised to do. We see a lot of businesses with their fortified windows. They have their storm boards over here as well, sandbags, just trying to do whatever they can. At this point, there is nothing left to do. They have done what they can, and they are just hoping for the best, because after Hurricane Helene, they know that this one is going to be worse. Just a lone police officer. The streets of St. Armand's neighborhood of Sarasota nearly silent.
So it's going to help some.
Except for the chatter of these two men as they try to seal a door from any incoming floodwater. Milton is coming, and this neighborhood is under an evacuation order. And at this late hour, much of the ruined belongings and debris left behind by Hurricane Helene almost 2 weeks ago is still sitting here, waiting for pickup. There's no way now for it all to be picked up before the storm.
So anything that is still left, we aren't going to be able to get to, and I think it's going to be very dangerous.
A local emergency currently exists.
All day Tuesday, police announced evacuation orders. A reminder to those who may have decided to stay, it's simply a bad idea. Many seem to agree.
This afternoon, taking a hotel room up by the airport with 3 dogs and a manic wife. She's tense.
I'm heading to a safe space.
George Kidd is still trying to decide how far to go. His house on Anna Maria Island was partially flooded in Helene, and he's got Lexi and Logan to think of as well.
Old timers on Anna Maria say it was and around the state of Florida say that Helene was the worst they had seen as far as surge. And this one, aiming right down the mouth of Tampa Bay, is supposed to be bigger than any of them.
But once the decision has been made, it hasn't been easy.
This is a 7 News weather alert.
All right, South Florida, I just mentioned that there were 2 tornado warnings, one across interior sections of South Florida, capable of producing a tornado, but we're keeping a close eye, and this is live video right now. You can see I-75. It is an apparent tornado, possibly on the ground right now, about to cross I-75, and this is the storm that we were warning on that was very close to our western suburbs of Broward County, areas like Weston, and you can see just near that toll plaza, and it seems to be that this tornado is on the ground there, just very close, awfully close to I-75 there across western Broward, near areas of Weston, just to the west of the area, once again near that toll plaza, and that's the live video, that footage that we're seeing right now. It's near Big Cypress Seminole, but there is a tornado that is on the ground. It is coming awfully close there to I-75, and not good. We see cars there on Alligator Alley, and this is something that, you know, we warn about, the outer bands, even though we're so far removed from this system, but the outer bands capable of producing those tornadoes at any given point, very quick moving and very quick to produce. So if you are just joining us now, we talked about a tornado warning that has been issued for western Broward, near areas of Southwest Ranches, Weston, Coral Springs, all western suburbs of Broward County, and now it seems that there is a tornado on the ground near the toll plaza there of Alligator Alley that is about to cross I-75. We see cars cars on the alley. Not good news there. Hopefully they are able to hear this somehow or have friends and family that are watching that can maybe give them a call that they need to get off the roads as soon as possible. On your screen right now, there is a tornado on the ground on Western Broward. If you're wondering where exactly that area is, on radar, we do have footage of that same storm. I think we're going to continue with these live pictures here of this tornado on the ground just off of Alligator Alley. If you're wondering where on the alley this is, it's very close to western portions of Broward County, just near the toll plaza. And it would look like it was about to cross I-75. It's west of Weston. You can see that on your screen near I-75. Rural Broward, let's hope it stays over areas that are not populated. So some light there at the end of the tunnel, but definitely a danger situation as outer brands continue to put. You can see that very thin rope-like structure there coming together. And it seems that this has been on the ground now for, I'd say possibly about 45 seconds to a little over a minute. And we'll stay with these live pictures as this is awfully close to some of our western communities of Broward County. Crossing I-75 there, areas where we still see cars possibly moving from west to east, trying to move away from the system. Tornado has crossed I-75, just getting word from the National Weather Service. And so they're going to keep this tornado warning in place here until further notice, really. It's moving north and it's moving about 25 miles per hour. And right now it's on Alligator Alley, about 14 miles west of Sunrise. So this is something that we want to watch. It is moving towards the north. And we need to keep a close eye on this one just because we have clouds on the road, cars on the road, and just the proximity to our western suburbs of Broward County.
And Erica, you talked about the, these images, stark images. We're taking them here live on air, but these cars driving along I-75, this has to be quite scary for people there on the road. This tornado touching down there in western Broward County, as you mentioned. I guess the silver lining of this right now is that there are no structures in the area because we've seen the impact that tornadoes can make and the damage they can cause in communities. We talked about the warnings. You guys always talk about the watches versus the warnings. There was a tornado warning, and here it is. Erica, if you'll touch on that, the warning and the likelihood that this was going to happen. You guys have been tracking this all morning for us, and hopefully people took heed to those warnings, and this impact won't be as bad with that touching down in western Broward County this morning.
That's right, Tavares, and this is why the National Weather Service issued that tornado watch that is in place for all of Central Florida, South, including South Florida and the Florida Keys until 9 p.m. today because conditions are just right. We're in that right quadrant of Milton. We're not getting a direct hit by Milton, but the outer bands sometimes really pack a punch. And we're talking about these tornadoes that can quickly form. So that tornado warning was actually just extended for just a little bit longer. And that means that as it continues to lift towards the north along US 27, just near I-75, these are all areas that if you have friends and family, you know they're traveling, maybe give them a call right now and tell them, hey, you need to get off the road right now, get to where you need to be. And this is the reason why today a lot of schools are canceled, a lot of cancellations, because government officials just don't want people on the road. It's dangerous, even though if you're not getting a direct hit from the system.
And that's a great reminder because you may hear that we're going to get maybe less rain, just some tropical force winds, and you're probably thinking, we're fine. We're not, because if you take a live look at your screen right now, on the right side of your screen, that's an active tornado happening right there in West Broward. On the bottom of your screen, a short time ago, you saw drivers still driving on Alligator Alley, maybe some still trying to evacuate the Tampa Bay area, as we've been seeing them do so for the last couple of days. Erica, I mean, what stops this tornado from moving? I mean, is there anything in the way that can maybe break this up? Is there something we can hope for? I don't know.
With the way the environment and the atmosphere are right now, it doesn't take much for this to produce, and really it's just in an open field. It seems to me like maybe it's lifting up just a little bit, maybe off the ground, so that could be good news for this specific tornado warning. We're looking at radar signatures here. Doesn't look as impressive as it did before. You can still see that funnel cloud out, but it looks like maybe this might be improving. It is moving towards the north, And if it does continue to hold, then areas along US 27 could see it between 10:30 and 10:40 this morning. So if you are in the area of Broward County, just along US 27 there, if this tornado is still on the ground, you'll likely be able to see it here in about 15 minutes, possibly moving in your direction. So Alex, to answer your question, with that right quadrant coming in through South Florida, we're going to see a lot of this. We've already seen 10 tornado warnings issued this morning alone, and already about 2 or 3 apparent tornadoes, and this one is an apparent tornado that was on the ground.
And Eric, you talked about the speed there, 25 miles per hour, I think you last said. As this looks like it's reducing right before our eyes, how much damage can that do, 25 miles per hour? We would think about driving in a car, for instance, at 25, not very fast, but the fact that it is a tornado can certainly make an impact as we're seeing this happen.
And really, it doesn't need to be anything light. I mean, it could be someone in their vehicle. It could be any. We see pictures all the time of survey crews being sent out by the National Weather Service when there is an apparent tornado, and the damage that a flying object becomes a missile, basically. And the damage that this can do, it's awful. So when we see it out in areas that are not densely populated, good news there. But there are people out there, and there are cars that are on the road. And again, this is a reminder that even though Milton will not be a direct hit for South Florida, outer bands can really pack a punch, and it may not be constant, but as they come in, they're not only coming in quickly, but they're producing very, very strong winds, and a lot of them capable of quickly producing a tornado in a matter of snapping a finger, as we just saw.
Exactly.
And Alex, I think it seems like maybe it's trying to lift. I see another rope-like structure. Not sure if that's the same tornado that we were watching, but there is another one now a little closer on the left side of the screen. So just a reminder to talk about this tornado warning that you do see. It was extended, the tornado warning for western Broward, so communities just west of Coral Springs. It's heading north, and it's a tornado warning that was extended until 10:30, I believe, this morning. So we're going to keep on this near US 27. This is near I-75 and US 27, just west of areas like Sunrise and Coral Springs area.
And now, Erica, just to reiterate, this is a situation that could happen for anyone in South Florida, right? Because we are all dealing with those outer bands, whether you're watching from Monroe County, whether you're watching from Miami-Dade or Broward. This is a possibility, unfortunately, throughout the day today.
Correct. And this is why the National Weather Service felt it was warranted to issue a tornado watch. And that extends as far north as Central Florida, but it includes all areas south. So South Florida in its entirety, including the Florida Keys, we are under a tornado watch because conditions today will be favorable for quick moving tornadoes at any given moment. We talked about this the last couple of days. That's what you can expect with the outer bands. And that tornado watch, Alex, is in place for all of South Florida, including the Florida Keys, until 9 p.m. today. And I did get word from meteorologist Jackson Dill. He did confirm that that was the same tornado that we were watching on the screen. Just sometimes they change in structure. Sometimes they're a little wider. Sometimes they take on this rope-like structure. Still very destructive nonetheless, as you have winds circulating, rotating within just this one funnel across the area. So, Alex, US 27, Broward County, west of Sunrise, west of Coral Springs. If you have friends and family maybe traveling along Alligator Alley, there's that tornado warning where we're keeping a close eye on, and it's actually in place until 10:45 this morning. The 10:30 that you see is actually the tornado warning that's across interior sections of South Florida. So we'll take a look at it here on your radar so you can see exactly as it continues to lift north. It's beginning to move, at least the thunderstorm associated with this tornado warning is beginning to move into portions of Palm Beach, but still west of Sunrise, west of Coral Springs. And yes, we did get word from the Weather Service that the tornado in northern Broward kind of roped out. So they're going to maintain the warning just a little longer, just to be sure, Alex Tavares, that no one is in harm's way and that this event is over.
All right, talk about a few seconds how things can change for us. Lucky this morning that was in rural parts of Broward County. No homes or anything and structures were over there because these things can really pack a punch and cause some damage. Our team here tracking it for us about an hour as this all plays out. Again, the tornado reported in western parts of Broward County, now moving north. What you saw right here on live TV this morning is it roped off and it looks like it went away here. Again, that warning or watch rather extended for us as our team continues to watch that for us here this morning on Today in Florida.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
radar just because they haven't canceled the warning just yet, and because of its proximity not only to Western Broward, but also just along US 27 there. It is on the north side of Alligator Alley. So if you're just joining us, there was a tornado, an apparent tornado that was on the ground. It crossed I-75, so from south to north. That thunderstorm at one point was affecting Western Broward, Southwest Ranches, Weston. You probably felt winds picking up and maybe some rain in your area. Well, that storm now is lifting north, and it is across northern Broward. That warned system, that tornado warning that we've been following, is beginning to lift now into Palm Beach, but it has been extended until 10:45 this morning, and it's that red box that you see there. You can see all along I-7, US 27. We saw cars on the road on Alligator Alley as this apparent tornado was coming close to the alley, and this is why we urge everyone, Alex Tavares, with these outer bands, a tornado can form at any given moment. Multiple tornadoes, as we've already seen this morning. Over 9 tornado warnings have been issued for Miami-Dade and Broward County. This is why that tornado watch has been issued and is in place until 9 p.m. today. So what you're watching is the warned area, Western Broward, west of Sunrise, west of Coral Springs, in relation to this one thunderstorm here that produced an apparent tornado that crossed I-75 moments ago when we saw cars on the road, and now it seems it's lifting north, but still affecting areas of US 27. So it did warp out. Believe we're still watching it just in case that there is still the possibility of a tornado with this system.
We talked about those cars on the road. For people who couldn't get off the road, what do you do in a situation like this?
You don't want to pull over. It's very difficult in a situation like this, especially if you don't know what direction the storm is moving. I mean, and we all know Alligator Alley, there really isn't anywhere to go. I would say use your eye. It's difficult sometimes, especially if you are that close. If there is any debris in the air, especially if it's rain wrapped, it's very difficult to see what direction it's moving in. But this is why we urge residents not to be on the road today. This is why we have all the cancellations, schools, because today, tomorrow are not days where we want everyone to be on the road. Tavares.
All right, Erica Delgado tracking that for us here. Again, it's a tornado touching down the western parts of rural Broward County. We'll keep tracking this for you from your storm station. Stay with us right here on Today in Florida. We're coming right back.
Jamie, my apartment was robbed last night. If only Progressive had renter's insurance like their home insurance.
That way we could bundle our cars and get the same 24/7 protection.
Totally.
Totally is the best word ever.
Totally.
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 It's called the domino effect, and it starts in Washington. When Congress first capped debit interchange, you lost rewards, and corporate megastores cashed in. Now, special interest groups are pushing the Federal Reserve to knock it down again, taking away banking access one by one from those who need it most. Corporate megastores win, and you pick up the pieces. Tell the White House and the Fed to stop the corporate megastore bailout. Reject Reg II.
Living with metastatic breast cancer means I cherish my memories, but I don't just look back on them. I look forward to the chance to make new ones every day with Verzenio.
Verzenio is proven to help you live significantly longer when taken with fulvestrant. Verzenio plus fulvestrant is for HR-positive, HER2-negative metastatic breast cancer that has progressed after hormone therapy. Diarrhea is common, may be severe, or cause dehydration or infection. At the first sign, call your doctor, start an antidiarrheal, and drink fluids. Before taking Verzenio, tell your doctor about any fever, chills, or other signs of infection. Verzenio may cause low white blood cell counts, which may cause serious infection that can lead to death. Life-threatening lung inflammation can occur. Tell your doctor about any new or worsening trouble breathing, cough, or chest pain. Serious liver problems can happen. Symptoms include fatigue, appetite loss, stomach pain, and bleeding or bruising. Blood clots that can lead to death have occurred. Tell your doctor if you have pain or swelling in your arms or legs, shortness of breath, chest pain, and rapid breathing or heart rate, or if you are nursing, pregnant, or plan to be.
I'm making future memories every day with Verzenio.
Ask your doctor about everyday Verzenio.
All right, welcome back. Your time now, 10:25. We take you to Key West. The area is starting to feel Milton's impact this morning as the Florida Keys remains under a tropical storm warning.
Yeah, residents are now preparing for the dangerous storm surge and flooding. 7 Samantha Sosa continues our team coverage right now. She's live in Key West. It's getting busy there, Samantha.
Yeah, Alex, Tavares, the wind is really starting to pick up out here. And you can see a lot of people are outside here by the southernmost point just because they're witnessing these massive waves crashing against the southernmost point here. All this water is spilling out into the street and causing some shallow street flooding right now. But this is what officials are warning about. They say that the flooding could get worse.
Rough surf and whipping winds in Key West Wednesday. With Milton just a couple hundred miles away, the island is under a tropical storm warning.
I'm not terribly worried about right now. It's going to be a lot of high winds and flooding.
Flooding already impacting some streets. People in this community know how to prepare.
We moved the car, all this furniture and stuff around the house all put away. We're ready for it.
Monroe County officials are asking people to secure their yards and tie up their boats. They've also closed government offices and schools Wednesday, as well as state parks. Some businesses, like Wells Fargo, shutting their doors until Thursday. And a coastal flood warning is in place. Storm surge with saltwater flooding is possible 1 to 3 feet above ground level in low-lying areas on the Gulf and bay side of the island until Thursday afternoon. Folks keeping their neighbors to the north in mind.
We're very fortunate in Key West that we haven't been hit with a direct impact in a number of years. Feel really bad for everybody up on the Tampa coast area because they are going to get a direct hit.
And this morning we are still waiting to hear from Monroe County school officials. They said that they will decide today whether they will cancel school for tomorrow. For now, we're reporting live in Key West. Samantha Sosa, Today in Florida.
All right, Samantha, coming up right here on Today in Florida, South Florida showing their support.
More crews now on the way to help the West Coast before and after the storm. Stay with us.
Living with metastatic breast cancer means I cherish my memories, but I don't just look back on them. I look forward to the chance to make new ones every day with Verzenio.
Verzenio is proven to help you live significantly longer when taken with fulvestrant. Verzenio plus fulvestrant is for HR-positive, HER2-negative metastatic breast cancer that has progressed after hormone therapy. Diarrhea is common, may be severe, or cause dehydration or infection. At the first sign, call your doctor, start an antidiarrheal, and drink fluids. Before taking Verzenio, tell your doctor about any fever, chills, or other signs of infection. Verzenio may cause low white blood cell counts, which may cause serious infection that can lead to death. Life-threatening lung inflammation can occur. Tell your doctor about any new or worsening trouble breathing, cough, or chest pain. Serious liver problems can happen. Symptoms include fatigue, appetite loss, stomach pain, and bleeding or bruising. Blood clots that can lead to death have occurred. Tell your doctor if you have pain or swelling in your arms or legs, shortness of breath, chest pain, and rapid breathing or heart rate, or if you are nursing, pregnant, or plan to be.
I'm making future memories every day with Verzenio.
Ask your doctor about everyday Verzenio.
Hey, Florida, if you own a commercial building, industrial building, HOA, or condominium with a flat roof and your insurance company had denied you insurance coverage because you need a new roof, Polo International has the smartest, most cost-effective solution. Spray polyurethane foam, or SPF, has the highest grading and resistance to wind weather damage, providing complete insulation to your existing roof. Time proven and tested. Call about savings with SPF and Polo International today.
And now 10 o'clock, a show of support from South Florida ahead of Hurricane Milton's landfall. Florida's Task Force 2 leaving Miami all ready to help before and after the hurricane. 7's Jordan Segundo live in Miami with a closer look at their deployment this morning. Jordan, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Tavares. Well, Task Force 2 consists of about 100 members from 26 different agencies from across South Florida, including firefighters, structural engineers, doctors, even veterinarians, and they all have one goal in mind: to help the hardest hit areas of any natural disaster. Now, for some of these members, they just got back from search and rescue efforts from Hurricane Helene, so some of them know all too well the devastation and disaster that these hurricanes can produce. Again, they are going to some of the hardest hit areas and providing much needed help and care for some of the residents there, whether it is medical care or just to pick up pieces or even help them evacuate. For these members, though, it's not an easy task, but for these men, women, and of course the canine, they are ready for what is ahead, and they say the work that they do is what keeps them going.
You know, first of all, these members are leaving their families behind, and they're putting themselves in harm's way to go help somebody. But that's what we do, and they do it best. And when you know, go into these situations and you go to these devastated areas, these people lost everything. It's probably one of the worst moments of their lives. And if we can provide some comfort, some solace, and do some good, that's what we're prepared to do. Even if it's to help them pick up the pieces, take them to safety, offer a helping hand, that's what we're here for.
And again, they provide much needed medical care, supplies, manpower, specialized equipment, and they go to some of the hardest hit areas from all these different type of natural disasters. They will be self-sufficient for the next 2 weeks. They are hoping for the best, but they're definitely prepared for the worst. Some members have already made their way up to the north, while some are out here in Miami still getting ready as they prepare their supplies. But again, they've got a big task ahead of them, but they are ready, as some of them have years of experience helping out communities across the nation. Reporting live from Miami, Jordan Seguno, Today in Florida.
All right, ahead here on Today in Florida.
We continue tracking Hurricane Milton as it inches closer to Florida. Stay with us. We'll be right back with our continuous coverage.
Living with metastatic breast cancer means I cherish my memories, but I don't just look back on them. I look forward to the chance to make new ones every day with Verzenio.
Verzenio is proven to help you live significantly longer when taken with fulvestrant. Verzenio plus fulvestrant is for HR-positive, HER2-negative metastatic breast cancer that has progressed after hormone therapy. Diarrhea is common, may be severe, or cause dehydration or infection. At the first sign, call your doctor, start an antidiarrheal, and drink fluids. Before taking Verzenio, tell your doctor about any fever, chills, or other signs of infection. Verzenio may cause low white blood cell counts, which may cause serious infection that can lead to death. Life-threatening lung inflammation can occur. Tell your doctor about any new or worsening trouble breathing, cough, or chest pain. Serious liver problems can happen. Symptoms include fatigue, appetite loss, stomach pain, and bleeding or bruising. Blood clots that can lead to death have occurred. Tell your doctor if you have pain or swelling in your arms or legs, shortness of breath, chest pain, and rapid breathing or heart rate, or if you are nursing, pregnant, or plan to be.
I'm making future memories every day with Verzenio.
Ask your doctor about everyday Verzenio.
Hey, Florida, if you own a commercial building, industrial building, HOA, or condominium with a flat roof and your insurance company had denied you insurance coverage because you need a new roof, Polo International has the smartest, most cost-effective solution. Spray polyurethane foam, or SPF, has the highest grading in resistance to wind weather damage, providing complete insulation to your existing roof. Time proven and tested. Call about savings with SPF and Polo International today.
All right, South Florida, here's the very latest on Hurricane Milton. Still a powerful Category 4 hurricane with winds of 155 miles per hour, moving very, very closely to Florida. The west coast of Florida bracing for impact. Just later on tonight is the expected landfall, moving in northeast at 16 miles per hour and just a little over 200 miles southwest of Tampa. We're now getting hourly position updates on this system due to its proximity to land, and the landfall likely to begin expected to be between midnight tonight and 4 a.m. So overnight, and anywhere from areas of south as Port Charlotte, anywhere through Sarasota, St. Pete, Tampa, and as far north as Palm Harbor. And now latest forecast track does have Milton possibly making landfall, still as a powerful Category 4 hurricane, and then keeping that hurricane status as it crosses Florida and emerging into the Atlantic as a hurricane. Tropical storm warnings all across South Florida, including the Florida Keys and even for the Bahamas, Grand Bahama Island, the Abacos, Bimini, as the occasional outer band will also push through as Milton crosses Florida. Further north, we have hurricane warnings that take over from Bonita Beach, Fort Myers, all through Tampa, through the mouth of the Suwannee River, and even on the East Coast, Orlando, Daytona Beach, under a hurricane warning until further notice. And then tropical storm watches and warnings extend also through the Florida's Big Bend, northern Florida, but even Georgia, South Carolina, and southern coast of North Carolina as well, as this system will be impacting much of Florida and that dirty sector beginning to push through. And that means that areas of South Florida, Central Florida will be favorable for tornadoes. And that's why we've been watching these already. Over 9 to 10 tornadoes have been issued for South Florida. And the biggest threat for tornadoes just to the north of us, Fort Myers, and to the south of the Tampa Bay area. This is why a tornado watch is in place from Central Florida all the way through South Florida, including the Florida Keys. And it's in place until 9 p.m. today. As we continue to see those outer bands pushing through, we could see tornadoes issued at any given moment. Strongest gusts anywhere between 40 to 50 miles per hour, some higher, likely through the late today until Thursday morning. We're already starting to see those winds increasing, in and out downpours tonight, an isolated tornado risk as we've been seeing, and storm surge flooding will be possible across the Florida Keys as high as 1 to 3 feet above ground. So we saw a few storms pushing through quickly. You can see outer bands now beginning to move into the Gulf Coast of Florida. For us here, we've seen a few of those isolated storms, but still enough to apparently produce tornadoes, and that's why this was the one that we were watching earlier that produced that tornado just to the south of I-75, and then it crossed into the other side of Alligator Alley. But there's two other areas that the National Weather Service are keeping a close eye on. So we do still have 3 tornado warnings in place. The one that we were watching is still in place until 10:45 a.m. Let's take a look at winds. Right now, they're sustained anywhere between 16 to 18 miles per hour in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and sustained between 29 miles per hour in Key Largo, as high as 32 miles per hour in Key Largo, Key West, I should say. And look at some of our wind gusts. Our gusts are reaching as high as 32, 30 miles per hour in areas like Miami and in Fort Lauderdale. As we go about our day, we'll notice those gusts and those sustained winds picking up. And this is why we're under a tropical storm warning. So the gusts right now from the Florida Keys as high as 41 miles per hour near Marathon and 49 miles per hour across portions of Key West. And you can see it's coming out of the south. So again, all of South Florida, including the Florida Keys, not only under a tropical storm warning until further notice, but also all of South Florida continuing under that tornado watch until 9 p.m. today. That's the very latest.
And as you just heard Erica mention, we are all under that tornado watch until 9 p.m. today. And we have video of what she said was a tornado that touched down in Broward County a short time ago.
Yeah, rural parts of the area. We brought that to you right here live on Today in Florida. 7's Alex Browning has boots on the ground now in the area as that tornado has now tapered off and headed north. Alex, what are the conditions out there you're seeing?
A bit windy, Tavares. You can certainly feel Milton's wrath as it approaches the Gulf Coast. But let's talk about those tornadoes. 2 confirmed tornadoes along the alley here in western Broward County. We'll take you straight to video. It's an eerie sight, one we don't see often, but you can see again the National Weather Service confirming 2 tornadoes touched down here in western part of Broward County. The concern is, as you can imagine, the alley packed with folks making their last-ditch effort to escape the path of Milton here, making their way east to South Florida. Now, like you heard Erica earlier, this was just about 5 miles northwest from Weston. It did cross 75. Again, in the western part of the alley, we heard at one point when we were on air earlier as it was happening, it was just near the toll booth on the western approach onto the alley. Our second confirmed tornado, just about further west, about 30 miles or so on the Broward Collier line, again, touching down there in that area. As you can imagine, not a very busy area, rural parts of Broward, Collier County. You have the reservation out there, but again, a packed Alligator Alley as folks try to escape the path of Milton. We are under that warning, tornado warning, for just the next 5 minutes ago, or 5 minutes from now, and that ending, I should say, at around 10:45. But again, the National Weather Service confirming 2 tornadoes touching down here in the western parts of Broward County, the Everglades, along the Alligator Alley, I-75. As far as we know so far, no confirmed damage to any cars or any rest stops here along the Everglades and the Alligator Alley. But as soon as that changes, or if we hear anything different, we'll let you know. But again, if you have friends, family making the trek on the alley, definitely want to be careful here, as winds are pretty strong here. Gusts, we definitely feel them compared to where we were just about 30 minutes ago. We're live in western Broward County. Alex Browning, Today in Florida.
All right, so those warnings still in place right now, something to pay attention to because conditions could change by the minute.
You're watching Today in Florida.
We're coming right back. Stay with us.
All right, South Florida, here's the very latest on Hurricane Milton. Still a major hurricane, still a Category 4 hurricane with winds of 155 miles per hour. Latest forecast track does keep Milton possibly as a Cat 4 before making landfall late tonight, anywhere between midnight into the overnight hours into early Thursday morning. As of 10 a.m., we're now getting those hourly updates. It's about 210 miles southwest of Tampa, moving northeast now at 16 miles per hour, has increased at that forward speed since yesterday. A tornado watch has been issued for a big chunk of Florida, from central Florida all the way down, including South Florida and including the Florida Keys. And we're going to keep this in place until 9 p.m. today as outer bands spread from south to north across Florida, easily capable of producing tornadoes, as we've already seen. And we still have 3 tornadoes, tornado warnings on the ground in place right now, and one of them still including western Broward, but just outside of our metro areas. All of this drifting towards the north. Heading into the day, we'll continue to see more of those outer bands. A very big band now beginning to push in through the Gulf Coast there. So areas like Fort Myers, near Port Charlotte, near Boca Grande, starting to see some of those very gusty downpours with a lot of lightning. Some of these really packing a punch. Milton now in our eye of our radar. You can see it beginning to lift closer and closer to Florida. For us here across South Florida, we have seen the occasional storm quickly moving through the area. area. One band specifically moving through the lower Keys, really picking up those winds and producing some quick rainfall there. And a few of those storms that pushed through South Florida, producing a tornado over just to the south of Alligator Alley, crossing, and now it's near Palm Beach. So Broward, Miami-Dade, all turning quiet for now. A lot of moisture. We'll notice that cloud cover increasing throughout the day as Milton gets closer and closer, but just about 200 miles southwest of the Florida Peninsula. So bands of downpours, a building breeze. We already saw winds sustained anywhere between 15 to 25 miles per hour, with gusts already as high as 45 to 49 miles per hour at times. Turning drier tomorrow with some sunshine. We'll keep it windy. Milton still crossing our state, then dragging a front across the area, which should help improve our conditions as we work our way into Friday. There will still be enough showers on the backside of Milton on this side of Florida. With the wind coming out of the northeast, it could bring in some of those showers across the area. We'll keep it still breezy, but maybe just not feeling as tropical and not as humid as before. Tropical storm warning in effect until further notice. Today is not a day to be out in the water, so please remember that. With coastal flood warning for the Florida Keys, as high tides are running higher than normal because of king tides, and high tide will be coming up at 4:05 this afternoon in the Key West area. Turning windy today, we're already seeing those winds increasing with outer bands pushing through the area. And of course, with that threat of tornadoes remaining over South Florida until tonight, the occasional showers still pushing through tonight. We'll keep it windy. And then finally into the weekend, all turns quiet finally for South Florida. That's your 7 on 7 forecast. 7 News Today in Florida. We'll be right back.
Now I got it. Hey. These are tough conditions. Case is going to finish the drive.
You got it.
Keenum, go time.
If only there were backups in real life. But at least there's Progressive to protect your home and auto.
And time in the Biz Buzz this morning, federal officials are warning Floridians of hurricane fraud and scams. The National Center for Disaster Fraud says people looking to help those in need should be suspicious of charities that use pressure to get donations. They're urging the public to not click on any links from an unknown source and look out for charities asking for Social Security numbers.
And now to another type of forecast predicting Milton's might. Some Waffle House locations along the west coast of Florida are closing, according to the company's Waffle House Index map. The restaurant is known for always remaining open during natural disasters, but the index works as an unofficial indicator of a storm's severity. So if you see a Waffle House boarded up, it's a message to get out of town.
Yeah, some good advice there. All right, ahead here on Today in Florida, Hurricane Milton continues its path toward the Sunshine State.
Yeah, this is what it looks like right now in Anna Maria Island. The pier there, you can barely see it. You can see just how choppy the water is. Residents are starting to feel the storm's impact. Stay with us. We continue to track Milton.
Welcome back. Right now, we take you back to this breathtaking video from just the past half hour here, where 2 confirmed tornadoes touched down right here in South Florida. These images out of rural parts of western Broward County near the Collier County line as it touched down near I-75. Both tornadoes appear to have now dissipated and moved out of the area, but several watches remain in place at this hour as we continue to track Hurricane Milton. Your time now, 10:52, Today in Florida on your storm station. Coming right back. Stay with us.
All right, South Florida, welcome back. Here's the very latest on Hurricane Milton, still a Category 4 hurricane with winds of 155 miles per hour. Milton now in our radar view here, so we're starting to see those outer bands, very strong ones pushing through the west coast of Florida. We had one just push through Key West, but it's moving towards the northeast, and it's about 210 miles southwest of Tampa, Florida. Latest forecast track has landfall anywhere between midnight, overnight into early Thursday morning, possibly still as a Category 4 hurricane as far north as Tampa and Palm Harbor, and as far south as areas near Venice and Port Charlotte. All of South Florida and all of Florida will be feeling impacts, especially as the wind field of Milton continues to grow. Right now, tropical storm force winds extend out 125 miles per hour. As it gets closer, that will continue to expand, and that's why we are expecting tropical storm conditions across South Florida, and this is why a tropical storm warning is in effect for all of South Florida, including portions of the northwestern Bahamas, with hurricane warnings extending from west central Florida to east central Florida, and now tropical storm watches and warnings extending as far north as areas along the Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina coastline. Tornado watch is in place from central Florida all the way through South Florida, including the Florida Keys, for the potential of tornadoes today. We've already seen 2 apparent tornadoes and a possible one in the Homestead area. We'll keep this in place until 9 p.m. today. So impacts, we'll see those gusts late today through Thursday morning with isolated tornadoes and possible storm surge flooding for the Florida Keys. That's the very latest.
All right, Erica, and that is Today in Florida here at 10 o'clock. I'm Tavares Jones.
And I'm Alex Diarmis. Be sure to join us later today for 7 News at noon and throughout the day as we continue to track Milton.